All right, folks. Back in the garage here where I previously said y'all might see me doing some work in here. So, a lot has been done in here as far as the transmission goes, anyway. So y'all have seen that. That's back in the truck. Fingers crossed it doesn't leak. The final seal there on it going into the truck was a bit of a time crunch because I had sealant on both sides of the gasket in that case, and crawling in front of the truck, getting the tractor, getting the transmission dropped in, all that time elapsed, and my sealant was drying in the process. So it all went pretty smooth except for when I got it ready for the final alignment. I was using a couple of long bolts temporarily in there to kind of guide that center shaft in, and I was having trouble with the kind of clocking of the transmission housing to the um, transfer case housing piece, all the connection there anyway. Um, so yeah, that was a little bit of a battle. I'm very sorry today. I crawled out from under that truck several times, and just trying to get all that. So anyway, fingers crossed it don't leak. Um, Other than a little bit of, I put a little gear oil as kind of an assembly lube, even though I didn't rebuild the transmission. I did clean it out. I flushed it out. So I did put a little bit of gear oil back in the transmission just to lube it and keep anything from rusting, get in all the little parts and stuff. But other than that, I ain't putting oil in it yet, is what I'm saying. The cure time on the sealant's 24 hours, so I'm not going out there today. So I'm going to let it set a week, put oil in it, and then hopefully just sitting there. I don't see any leaks, but if I do, then I know it's going to have to come back apart there before I drop the engine in, which is here. So this is part of the video today, is to go over the engine. So let me flip this camera around, and I'll actually show y'all what I have here, and a little bit of details on it. Okay, so there's two engines, so they're going to go in there just like this, back to back. No, I'm just kidding. As y'all have seen previously, this is the 327 that was in the truck when I bought it. It has about 3,000 miles on the rebuild. I didn't really run it much at all, to be honest. I did drive about an hour round trip with it to register the truck. And I've done some test runs with it where I was dinking the timing and the carburetor. But other than that, I haven't touched it other than pulling it out. So this engine will be for sale. Like I said, nothing wrong with it other than it does have a big cam in it. It likes to live at high RPM, is where it's happiest. This would be a great hot rod motor for somebody, but that's really not what I was looking for in the truck. So I got to looking, and found this engine, which as you see here, and I've got an engine stand I'm about to trip over here that it's about to go on, because I've got to do a little bit of disassembly, not much, on some seals and gaskets here. But anyway, as you can see, there's parts spread around everywhere here. I've got, a lot of the miscellaneous parts here that I need to finish this engine out. I'm going to put the same carb, the 600 CFM carb on here that I had on there. This engine will come with a 750 CFM carb that was on it when I bought it, which is, it's a good carb. It's just, I thought it was too much carb for it, but other people might think otherwise. But don't put that carb on this motor starting out. It may or may not stay with it. We'll see. But anyway, I made the decision that this engine was going to come out. So I kind of started looking, and I wanted to go the 6-cylinder route, a straight inline 6. And I very nearly purchased a 250 inline 6. And I had the money in hand for it, was going to go get it. It was like a 1982. So it was of the same time era as the truck. So everything on it would have, should have bolted in and worked well. And the engine had been rebuilt as like this engine. But it had what was called an integrated head, which means the exhaust manifold, the air intake, a lot of that was integrated into the head. And they're known for cracking, and you're limited on what kind of carb, exhaust, and all kind of stuff there. And the engine itself was not very expensive, but a lot of people were saying to change the head out, get intake and all that. I started totaling all that up, and it got expensive real quick, to the point that I realized for the same amount of money I could get, a full-blown rebuilt V8. So I was looking around on Marketplace, and I actually had this engine saved as a possible prospect. And I liked the specs on this motor because that motor is built for high RPM power, more like a track motor, hot rod kind of muscle car thing. This one's built for low end torque. So it's 327. This is a 350 board 40 over, so we're around a 355, 356. I don't know. I forget what the math was on that, but this is so that's a 1967. This is a 73 block. We got new heads on it. We've got I don't know if you can pick that up. These are World product heads. These are I believe it's called the Torquer heads. So these are for more torque. And the cam, this one does have a comp cam. It's not a thumper cam. This cam is a lower end torque cam. So this engine will make its power and torque, in the lower RPM ranges, whereas that one wants to make it in the higher. So this is what I want. This is what I feel should be a four-wheel drive truck. This is what we're going with. I didn't build the engine. The guy I bought it from, he had the engine assembled by a professional place around Nashville, Tennessee. Did the engine, and he did a few of the external things, I believe. But excuse me, he had built this engine for a nephew, I believe was the story, to go in a 1979 K10 or K10 or K15 square body truck. So exact same truck that I'm putting in pretty much. Story had it that while he was getting this engine put together, the guy got offered some amount of money for that 79 square body, and he sold it as it was before they ever put this engine in. So then they had this engine, they decided to sell it. So it worked out good that it's going into the application that it was intended for. So the story is. So what I'm getting ready to do, put this thing on the stand here. I've got tools spread out here, yonder, and everywhere trying to do all this. Gasket sets. Here's a timing cover gasket set. This is a new oil pan set. I've got some fans running in here, some air blowing. I've got a new intake gasket set. So some of you are going, whoa, this thing's rebuilt. Why are you doing all that? Well, a couple of reasons. These end seals are notorious for leaking, and upon first look at this thing, I thought it was done pretty well, but there was a gap in here that I could see, and actually took a filler gauge and stuck in here, and I mean without any effort it just slid right in. So I know I've got a gap there that's gonna leak and leak bad. So I just got this in here to keep anything from going down the oil pressure sensor hole. So unfortunately, to fix this properly, this intake's got to come off, and this has got to be resealed. And so I've got, well, okay, I had a bit of a receipt fiasco there. I had to pick up. So what I've got here is the new gasket kit. You can see these are the end seals, the little cork pieces, and a lot of people say not to use them. Just put a thick bead of silicone right here, and that's what he did. The problem is this has got quite a gap. And the reason they don't use those seals, I believe, is to keep from cracking the intake or something, because they're too thick. But I think in this case that it might be best to use those end seals, because this gap is so thick, it's going to be hard to get a bead in here that don't settle, because I believe that's what happened here. That bead settled and did not adhere to this top piece, the intake. So hopefully, I found this intake as a kit, and the kit had the part number to the I got another receipt flying around here. The intake had part number to this gasket set, so hopefully I've ordered the correct gasket set to go back on here. But anyway, so that's why that's got to happen. The other reason is I had a oil drip, and this thing ain't even had oil in it yet. I had an oil drip right here on the timing cover in the oil pan gasket seal, and I don't know if it's assembly lube in there that has dripped down and built up there, but nonetheless, it's leaking out of here somewhere. So the sad part about that is most likely, I know I'm moving the oil pan, removing it, but I'm probably gonna have to remove this balancer, this timing cover, the water pump, and all to do that. And then of course it didn't have a fuel pump, so I've got a new fuel pump, I've got the gaskets, all that's got to be done. So long story short here, I I've got to get it on this engine stand where I can flip it over, get the oil pan off and whatnot, and redo a lot of these seals. And it is what it is. I hate it because I'm getting real close to the point of being able to throw this thing back in the truck. I say back and throw this one in the truck, but we're not there yet. So I'm going to try to get started on this process today a little bit. And yeah, that's from yesterday's transmission adventure. So give myself some time to heal up from that ordeal yesterday. But anyway, so there you go. That's what's going on. That's the engine swap. We are going to a 350, and I'm really hoping this thing runs out well, and I hope it's leak free. You know, this whole effort's been to try to keep it as leak free as possible. And you know, that was the whole reason for pulling the transmission out. But anyway, we'll see. But anyway, there's your update on the engine story and what's going on there. Just gotta try to get this thing tore apart, put back together, resealed, and all the other stuff back on it, like the I got a thermostat housing, the temperature sensor, the heater fittings that go here for your heater hoses. Got a vacuum line here. I think I'm going to run the power brakes off this and run the vacuum for the PCV valve off the back of the carburetor this time instead of having off the front. I have fitted my poly heat plate that I bought for this engine. I had to use a spacer. You see under there for that. I will not need it for this engine because the intake rises high enough, so that's good. These plugs are used. These are fillers, but I bought the exact same plug. It seemed to be, they were fairly inexpensive, and you know, reviews weren't too bad on them. For a lot of people said that was a typical 350 plug. So got brand new plugs going in it. Headers is still in debate. The headers that were on this engine, on this side, passenger side, was hitting the U-joint of the front axle, the drive shaft U-joint, and I'm very much debating. I got a part number off those headers. They're not a set of headers for this truck. However, some people recommend using them for these trucks because they fit well. And in a two-wheel drive application, that's probably true. But in a four-wheel drive application, I think there's clearance problems with them. So I may or may not be going with a new set of headers while I'm doing all this. Oh, clutch. I've already took the flywheel. You can see the clutch and flywheel all in down there, which that flywheel wasn't that bad. Again, lending to the original mileage story, there ain't much wear on that flywheel, so that's interesting. I have flywheel clutch assembly down there. Will be going on the new motor. I have new bolts, hardware in one of these boxes here. So yeah, the whole shebang pretty much. Changing it out. Anyway, I'm gonna shut up and get back to going here. So I had a minute. I wanted to kind of go over what I'm doing here while the engine's out, because once I get to going here and I get closer to getting this thing in, I'm gonna try to get it in as quick as I can, but we shall see. Anyway, thanks for watching. See you.